Hey Overlord, it's me again, Dreg. In this build, I accidentally build these things. All great builds, like stories, begin with singing. Hey, whoa, calm down. Are you telling me that you have never sang in the shower? Before you start hating on me for not bringing you joy, maybe you should figure out why you're not happy to begin with. Maybe you should look inside, find the issues that you're dealing with inside. Not rely on me to bring you joy, but bring joy to yourself. Only when you are at peace with yourself can that peace spill over into the world and bring true, lasting world peace. What do you say? You want to work together, try to make this world a better, happier place together? Screw it. I'll just take junk and make it into better junk. So plan A didn't pan out. I was trying to take the plastic and get it hot and smash it flat, but it got all crinkly and warpy and started shrinking. And so I went with plan B, these sports drink bottles. I didn't really have a plan B, and I just figured, hey, I will just make some more terrain. So step one is take the tops off. I really like the expandifoam, so step two is to fill it with expandifoam. Fill it with expandifoam. 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 Step two is to fill it with expandifoam. Fill it with fill it with expandifoam. Step two was to make a platform on top of my little builds. I used the plastic snippers to cut the popsicle sticks in half. Oh, that was brutal. I don't know where that went. Turned out that popsicle sticks were more stout than I anticipated, and I may have irreparably harmed my snippers. I laid out my pieces on the table and arranged them in more or less a floor shaped pattern and then glued them together with some super glue. Then I sprinkled on some baking soda, trying to weld them together. I realized that the super glue was not strong enough to hold it all together, so I decided to put some structural support on the bottom side of the floor. Then after I carefully pried it up, I flipped it over, used my knifey, bladey, retractable knife thing I got from the dollar store, and added some texture to the top side to make it look kind of weathered and beaten. After I finished with the first floor, I started on the second one, but my hand was still hurting and the clippers were getting dull, so I just decided to break the popsicle sticks in half, and it gave it a grainy, gross, weathered look that I really liked that the other one didn't have. After I started on the second one, I realized if this game is taking place in the future, maybe they don't have power tools. Maybe the boards that they have to use, they literally have to break in half by hand and build stuff out of just scraps. So I think this platform fits better in the world than the first one does. So 2 platforms down, and now I need to build 2 ladders. I just built these just freestanding. I didn't attach them to the building itself. I only recorded building the first one, so if you're OCD and you notice that there's not 2 recordings, that's why. So if you want to watch me build 2 of them, rewind this section back and watch it twice. To make it look more weathered, I decided to use a couple different tones of paint. I used black, watered it down, put some drops on it, then some nasty like pea green stuff that I found, and then 3 different shades of brown, and just glopped it on randomly. I splattered it a little bit, just trying to get a very uneven, weathered texture to it. The wood was very thirsty, so every drop I put on there, it just soaked it up. And so I just kept going back over, adding more paint on top of the paint on top of the paint. Yeah. I painted the bottom side of the platforms. I primed the bottles, and then I went to the store and I got some more Expandifoam. I literally just realized as I'm recording this that the aspect ratio changed for a couple scenes there. My bad, but I'm not going back to fix it. I allowed the muffin tops to cure overnight, took my blade, and then chopped the heads off. The whole point of this build was to test out 2 mediums that I bought. I bought a crackle medium and a chipping medium. This red one is the one that I'm going to use the crackle medium on. And this yellow one is the one I'm going to use the chipping medium on. The instructions for one of them stated to paint the first coat, allow it to dry for an hour, and then add the medium, allow the medium to dry for an hour, paint the third coat a different color, and then allow it to dry for an hour. So I just figured I was going to do that on all of it. If it was good for one, it was good for all of them. I did record putting the medium on, but it was just a white color, white creamy color, and it was super boring, so I edited most of it out. But here, I'm adding the crackle here. And I'm adding the chipping medium here. After the mediums dried for an hour, I added another contrasting color on top of the first one, and then allowed these coats to dry for an hour. Actually, I think I let them dry overnight. I wasn't really sure what I was expecting from the crackle medium, but I was not super excited about this finish. It looked a lot like the finish from the chipping medium. So I decided to just weather both of them using the same method. You get a little bit wet, and then with something with bristles that are stiff, like a Q-tip or a toothpick or toothbrush, you just scrape off some of the overlying paint until you get the appropriate amount of weatheriness that you are looking for. I wasn't sure if the crackle medium was going to weather like the chipping medium did, but it did. And so that made it better because the paint was already cracked and gross looking, and then you had chipping on top of it. So in the end, I think I like the crackle medium better than the chipping medium. If you have used crackle medium and got a better result, please comment and tell me what you did. Also, if there is another medium that I don't know about because I'm really new to this, please comment and tell me about it. The colors are a little too vibrant, so I made a wash out of a dark brown, a dark green, and a light gray. I did not want to use black. I didn't want to cover up my colors, but I just wanted to just grime them up. So I made a really gross baby poop green that I was very happy with. After I coated it thoroughly in the baby poop, I took a rag and just dabbed some of it off. I was careful to leave the excess in the crevices so it looks really just funky and gross. I used the same process with the blue and red container. I liked the way that it looked covered in it, and I dabbed off a bit too much. So in the future, I'm just going to try not to dab it off and just see what kind of funkiness I can come up with. On the platforms here, I took a push pin and was just going for like nail or screw details. It ended up being a waste of time because after I added the details, I used the excess baby poop green wash, and off camera I went over the whole thing, and the wood swelled up so much that it just sealed in those holes, so you can't really see them in the finished product. Oh well. I didn't realize that when I recorded gluing the tops on these things, how similar my movements were. If stacked side by side, I do almost the same thing. I glue, and then I put my glue gun down, and then I adjust the glue gun, and then I put the top on, and then I tilt it over on the side to look at it, and then I lay it down and I put it almost in the exact same place. I don't even know what to say. Like, I couldn't have planned that if I had tried. I took the ladders outside and I primed them, and then I took a gunmetal gray and painted over them. I wanted it to look like they were like metal or something, and not wood. I wanted it to look like metal. And then I did a wash over it with a nasty green, and you can't really see it. Anyway, here are the beauty shots. I know I said this before, but I really like how these turned out. I really want to use them in a game, so I may have to get into Stargrave, invest a little bit of money, and start doing that. I'll let you know what happens. Overlord, I've been sending these transmissions to you for a little bit now, and you have not responded at all. I don't know if you're receiving them or not. So if you have received my transmissions, I know it's not a tachyon emission burst, but please comment below and tell me that you are receiving them. And, if you happen to see the Emperor, just put in a good word for me. The monkeys here are crazy.